Welcome back, everyone, to the A.D.D. show, where we're not always right, but we're never wrong. As always, I'm Mark.
And I'm Hans, and welcome back to the show, everybody. This is going to be the final part of our free agency breakdowns of what we think each team needs, each division needs. We've done the AFC North, South, East, West, NFC North, South, and East. Today we're going to finish it up with the West, go over a little bit of free agency stuff, right? Mark, you're looking at me funny. I thought I got that right. Go over some of the free agency, which when you guys hear this would have started 2 days before you hear this episode. People we think are big winners, losers, the teams that have made the most noise, which ones we think are good decisions. Also, on top of that, we're not getting into it today probably much, but the NCAA basketball tournament does start tonight.
Yep.
And that's really, really exciting because we didn't get to have it last year because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I was really excited because for my team, we were in a really good spot, and once again this year too. So I hope it's a really good tournament, some really good teams in, and it's not the powerhouses you'd expect. So for me, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, and we'll keep you updated. We do have a group that we have a bracket challenge with. So we'll keep you updated on our Facebook page of what the first weekend looked like, and we'll keep you updated so you guys can see how bad we are at picking the NCAA tournament. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Syracuse made it. I didn't think they should have, to be honest with you. They made it as an 11 seed. They're 11 seed, so they were one of the last teams picked.
Yeah.
Because usually the 11 seeds are the last teams picked.
Yeah.
They have potential.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they're going to notice this right now.
They have a couple tough teams that play really hard to go through that. The problem with Syracuse, they have the potential because of the coach. I mean, you have a Hall of Fame coach, which makes a huge difference.
Their 2-3 zone is very hard to prepare for. Not a lot of teams know how to execute it the way Syracuse does.
And that's one of the reasons why the tournament is so special, at least for me, is because for someone like me being a West Virginia fan, the way we play is either we press you or we don't. We can do either, but you only get so much time to prepare in the tournament. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so nice where you play someone like Syracuse, someone's like, man, Syracuse don't have a lot of talent. But in this situation, by not having as much, you don't have as much time to prepare for a Syracuse or West Virginia or Gonzaga.
Yep.
This is a time where you show who can make the most changes in a one-day span before you play a game. Yeah. This is where men are made.
Yep. The thing I like about the tournament the most, and we won't dive into this, this whole, because you know how much I love basketball.
I know.
It's not about a player.
Yeah.
A player will get you maybe to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
A team get you to the Final Four.
Yeah, you have to have the
and
best.
There are some excellent teams in this tournament this year. So
it's
really exciting. It's going to be some good basketball. You may not know the teams, you may not know the colleges, but you will love, if you want to watch basketball, this will be some really good basketball.
And I looked in this last before we move in, but I can tell you that a lot of the teams I've looked over their numbers over the past couple days, there's a lot of deep teams.
Yes.
Like teams with a lot of deep talent with like 1 or 2 or 3 really good top 100 players, but in general, it's a lot of stacked teams and deep teams. So this is one of my favorite tournaments of the year. I mean, in the last few, I'm really looking forward to this one. It looks like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So let's get started. We'll talk about Seattle first. How about that?
Ready for that?
Shaq Griffin, gone.
Yep.
Offensive line, they really don't have one still. Defense is only getting worse. The best player they had on their defense was Shaquille Griffin, and he's gone. Chris Carson, I don't know what they're going to do there. He's a free agent. Nobody's called him yet, but nobody's really called any running backs yet. Like a few side running backs, like Kenyon Drake signed today with the Raiders.
I think running back, you're gonna have to wait a few more days, at least for me. I think running teams are gonna kind of sign one last minute once their other holes are filled. I think they're focusing on linemen, defensive players right now, seeing how many running backs there is. Plus, we talked about it last week, the amount in the draft. We talked about it with the guys. There are so many running backs in this class too.
And it's sort of like what's happening with wide receivers too.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into the free agency thing, but free agent wide receivers aren't getting signed. They're getting signed to 1-year deals, 2-year deals, because there's so much talent at wide receiver in the draft. So, but Seattle, to me, they have almost $8 million to spend.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is their best player. Who does he want to be there?
Yeah.
They got offered, if that trade deal was what Chicago offered, and they turned it down.
Yeah.
You turn it down an offer like that, knowing he wants to stay, and he has not come out and said he wants to be there.
Yeah. But doesn't he have a no trade clause, right?
He does have a no trade clause. He can pick the teams he can be traded to. Chicago was one of those teams.
Yeah.
But for me,
and they had that 3-team deal with the Jets. Possible, that would have been good.
It's to me though, it is just a slap in the face to the organization. You've done everything for this man. You got rid of all the alpha dogs in that locker room on that defense.
Yeah, especially the defense.
And you made it his team, and you make it his team, and now all he's doing is complaining. Yeah. So it's kind of a slap in the face. If you think about it,
look down the roster. This is what I wrote down. You look down the roster, you're like, man, look at Russell Wilson. Couple decent running backs. Then you're like, okay, Lockett, and then a dude that
Metcalf,
Metcalf, and you're like, what else?
Right.
And not in a mean way, like that wasn't them 2 years ago. Their drop off is reminding me of like how quickly the Ravens fell off after Flacco's Super Bowl. Like it was within 2 years they had just a quarterback overpaid, and that's what I'm thinking about it like.
They're good enough to be relevant, but they're not good enough to win.
Not in this division, they're not.
Exactly, and this division's only getting better.
Put them in the NFC East, they're probably going to win the division.
Yeah,
but not here.
So you're not in a position right now where if you bring Carson back, great. Yeah. I'm not high on Carson. Yeah. I think he's an excellent talent, but he's an injury prone.
I was just about to say he's always hurt.
So I think that's a big reason why he hasn't been signed yet. And it's with $8 million, you can't get what you need. No. To be relevant in the Super Bowl conversation. That's what everybody's trying to be relevant. And if you're Seattle, you want to be relevant.
Well, it's somebody like Seattle versus the Jets or the Jaguars.
Right.
Your level is not, let's just see if we can get to the playoffs. No, you're in win now mode. Whereas somebody
you've been in that mode. Yeah. Like you're expected to be there.
The Jets, Giants, Eagles, and Jaguars, their goal is let's just try to make strides forward.
Let's make steps.
But Seattle's in this limbo mode where it's like how the Eagles were last year.
Yes.
You're in this limbo mode, like, what are you going to do? Are you panicking? Because I was told that it was more than just Chicago offering deals. That there was a couple different teams calling.
But Chicago offered Khalil Mack, and one other starter, 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick. And they said no.
Yeah. It reminds me of Houston. It's just incompetence.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I don't know what direction they're going in. And for Seattle, that's saying a lot because they always had what looked like a solid team going into the season. And I do believe they can win 8, 9, 10 games with the roster they have right now. Of course. And that's probably the Russell Wilson factor. Having a top 10 quarterback, you're good for 3 to 4 wins by yourself. And then the quality of teams that you're playing. But this division, you can argue that every single team in this division got better and Seattle stayed the same or got a little worse.
Yeah.
And, so I don't know how you feel about Seattle, but...
So, to me, I feel exactly the same. I wrote down defensively they improved in the last 5 weeks of the season. Like, the whole year was not good. It was like Minnesota or Dallas. Half the year they were bottom 3. Then by the end, they started to catch their stride. I made that about Minnesota and got kind of talked about it with the guys. It was like they were bad, but then I forgot. By the end of the year, they were 15th in the league. But if you average every week, they weren't good. Seattle's defense, I wrote it down and I have it in words right here. They're reminding me, like I just said, of the Ravens at some point. I just feel like you're in this limbo mode where the Ravens, I'm not saying I agree with the Lamar Jackson and the direction they're going, but they quickly went, we got to change now. And they did it overnight, made a quick change, dropped a hat, got rid of a bunch of people, and they started moving forwards. Whereas I think Seattle's in this mode where they just want to keep it the way it is because they think they're good enough. But the problem is, look at these teams into your division, what we're about to get to. You're not good enough. No. Because I'm going to look here, the Rams, the Cardinals, 49ers, no offense to any of these teams. The 49ers are, in my opinion, we'll get to them in a minute, they're still the best team in this. And the reason I say that is because they had the most injuries of this division. Mm-hmm. When all those players come back, I wrote down they actually don't need any position, really. They just need to build and literally get depth to every position because you have so much talent. Mm-hmm. The only real question mark, we'll move into the 49ers now, really the only real question mark is Garoppolo your guy. That's the only thing I'm thinking. Okay. And health. Maybe another wide receiver would be helpful.
I'm going to say wide receivers a must.
A must.
Ayuk is a stud.
A stud. And
Deebo Samuel is okay.
Okay.
And Kittle is top 2.
He's 2 wide receivers himself.
Yeah, he's a top 2 tight end.
Absolutely.
In the league. Offensive line got better. They got that guy, the center from Atlanta.
Yep.
They signed him. Offensive line is better. Their running backs are good.
Yeah.
Mostert is really good, can't stay healthy. Coleman, really good, can't stay healthy. Deebo Samuel, really good, can't stay healthy. Khalil, really good, can't stay healthy. Garoppolo, manageable, can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
The defense is dirty, can't stay healthy.
Yep.
So it's almost like their biggest need is a health and conditioning coach.
I agree.
But like I did say, their defense does need to bulk up and need depth.
Yeah.
Their cornerback position and safety is good, but not, where the defensive line makes them better.
Well, they have a couple veterans in the secondary, and two of them I know are gone, and one is Richard Sherman. I don't know the other one's name either.
Yeah.
They're both in the 30s. So, like, you're going to have to bolster some positions, but in general, top to bottom, this team, to me, I think isn't a really good direction with the other teams in the division. I just think Seattle is the one that's trickling downwards.
And the cap numbers I looked at are all updated. Updated for what has happened with all the restructuring and contracts signed.
Yeah.
So the 49ers have $10 million, almost $11 million to spend still. You can get a wide receiver. You can get one of these one-year deals for these wide receivers. You can get a running back off the heap. You could probably sign a Carson, a Connor, or
I think if they brought in a Connor or a Carson for a little bit of money and then draft another wide receiver, let's say they found like a 30-year-old veteran wide receiver, something like an Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know if he got picked up.
He got picked up. He signed. Buffalo.
Okay, but somebody like him.
I think it's Buffalo.
Okay, I'll look at it in a second. But someone like him and bring that into the team. My opinion of that is Garoppolo can be that guy, right? I don't think. Oh, I'm dropping stuff. I think Garoppolo can be that guy, and I've made jokes about trying to replace him, saying he needs to be replaced, but if they bring in the right amount of talent around him, I think he can be a really serviceable, good quarterback, and I don't think they have to replace him. But you see when everyone around him is injured like last year, he didn't get nothing done. It was the Bills?
Buffalo. Yep.
Okay, so when he was injured, not him yet, sorry, because he got injured towards the end of the season, right? His line was injured. Wide receivers were injured. His running backs
was out like week 4.
Was he out that early?
Oh, yeah, he was out early.
You're right. He was out in the very beginning.
Yep.
But I keep saying, like, I don't think he has the potential. But when I think about it, if you bring in a Carson or a running back that'll help out and another wide receiver, I truly think he could be a really good quarterback. I just don't think he has the fear factor. Does that make sense? To overtake a game? Yeah. But I don't think they need it. It's like my Baker comparison sometimes. Is I think he's good, and I think they can get it done. I just want to see him take that next step, and I think bringing in more talent will do that.
If they stay healthy, they're a top 5 team in the NFC.
Absolutely.
I believe.
Absolutely.
And that's all dependent on what's happening in free agency and everything. But it's just looking at all these other teams, too. And, we can really roll right into the Rams here. Not to rush through these or anything, but the Rams are in cap trouble.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, the Rams are good enough right now as is without signing another person to make the playoffs. I think Stafford is an upgrade.
I do too.
Cam Akers is that guy.
Again, second-round pick.
Woods, Cooper Kupp, Higbee. Really solid.
They just lost a wide receiver too to free agency too, didn't they?
No, they lost Everett, their second tight end.
Tight end, you're right.
But they have that core. Their offensive line is decent, not great.
Yep.
Their defense is really good and all together. Now
they could use another corner, but
they're going to have to restructure.
Yep.
They're going to have to cut. There's going to be some cap casualties.
Oh yeah.
They're $24 million over the cap.
Most teams will get back to zero by the day season starts.
Right.
By the end of this free agency.
If New Orleans is better than them right now, and New Orleans was $40 million more than them over the cap, and New Orleans but New Orleans has lost a ton of players. But this team was arguably a quarterback away from being the best team in this division, where it was Goff had so many games where you were like, yeah, that's why he was the number 2 pick or the number 1 pick in the draft. And then he had these bonehead games, 150 yards, 4 turnovers, or
he had these plays where I'm like, he threw to a ball, he threw to a receiver, and there was no one there. He just threw it right to the defender. I'm like, that's Carson Wentz stuff you're doing.
Yeah, and it was like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Where Stafford is a different type of quarterback, and you can say he didn't win in Detroit. Nobody's won in Detroit. Okay, he's probably the most successful quarterback in Detroit. And he puts up numbers. And the thing is he doesn't care really who you are. he'll find you.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need a superstar wide receiver. He made Kenny Golladay a superstar.
But this is the one thing I've always said too, is it reminds me of another sport that I watch a lot, is like, you've been on a subpar team for a long time. What can you do when you get the right team? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. He's moving up in the ranks. It's almost like going from a small team to a big team. And now you're getting weapons. Like, don't get me wrong, you have Megatron. I understand that. But you're getting weapons. You're getting another domed stadium. You're getting the best defense you've ever had in your career.
You're getting support.
That's the thing. And
I
think
and he never had support.
And people are like, well, you shouldn't need support to win. Okay, not everybody's Tom Brady. But this would really, really help Matthew Stafford. Same thing I've said with Dak. I've said it for years. He needs the support. All quarterbacks need it. Yep. Unless your name's Tom Brady, you can seem to do it with just nobodies.
Yeah.
So Matthew Stafford, I think this is a huge upgrade for the Rams by far.
And I think it for the Rams team also. Mm-hmm. I think they feel that it's an upgrade.
I think they're going to like him. I think he's a player.
I think the defense is going to not be it's not going to be as separated of a team where the defense is frustrated because the offense isn't getting it done, or vice versa. But I think with Cam Akers, I think with Robert Woods, who's an underrated wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, everybody loves him, and if they can all stay healthy, it's a dangerous team.
And they drafted another wide receiver too, didn't they? I'm trying to think of what his name was.
I can't remember. They did draft one, but they don't have.
It wasn't Jefferson, was it?
No, they didn't play him a lot. I know that he didn't play a lot, but I mean, you could draft one this year. I mean, you don't need much. You do need a little bit of help on the offensive line. Offensive line is probably their weakest area on the team, I would say.
Van Jefferson. That's what I thought.
Van Jefferson? Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was his name.
So then we're going into the team that made the biggest splash right now, I'd probably say, in this division. And besides... I'd probably say besides Washington and besides Tampa Bay, made the biggest splash in the NFC for what they've done this offseason. Not only for what they've lost, but for what they've gained. Patrick Peterson, Reddick, and I do think Kenyon Drake are going to be big losses.
Yeah.
But the offensive lineman Hudson they just traded for from the Raiders. Getting a J.J. Watt and an A.J. Green. J.J. Watt and A.J. Green are aging players, veterans, okay? But what I feel they have left is I think they are going to be great complementary pieces. Yeah. They are going to be A.J. Green's going to be opposite the best wide receiver he's ever played with in his life. Yep. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to get those double teams. And you can even say Kirk is a great slot receiver to have there. And you're going to have A.J. single covered. Yeah. I do believe A.J. will pop off for a few good games and be very consistent this year.
Fitzgerald's not staying, right?
It's up in the air. Yeah. He's a true free agent for the first time.
But if he does stay, they might have, like I said in the group, the 3 best hands in the league ever that I've seen in my lifetime. And that's crazy. And that brings me to the next point. I'll let you finish yours. Brings me to my next point here. And it's exactly the same thing I said just about the 49ers. I said the same thing about the Browns in a way. I like Kyler Murray, but do they? I know they do. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But I see the same exact glimpses that I see sometimes out of, you just said his name, Garoppolo. Not Garoppolo. You just said it a minute ago. So many good games. Golf. Really good games. And then sometimes you're like, how do you only have 80 yards at the end of the half?
Yep.
So you have all these weapons, buddy. You got to get it done because you are now, I think, the missing link now.
Yes,
but it's on you.
I said the last thing I said Watt, Green, big additions. Need a running back. Yep. I know they like Chase Edmonds. Yeah. He's shown flashes, but you need another one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Kenyon Drake was that guy.
Connor made a good choice.
But somebody needs to be there that they can run the ball with. Now, my thing is, can Murray take that next step? That's exactly what I wrote down. Can he be more consistent?
Yeah.
You're going into your 3rd year. Can you take that Josh Allen step?
That's what we want to see.
And you don't have to have an MVP type season.
No.
But technically, your 3rd season, if you do, that sets you up for getting paid.
Yeah.
So this is a make or break year technically for him where he's going to be in that, what you like to call like the Baker limbo. Yeah. Are you going to get that 5th year option? Mm-hmm. Are you going to get that big contract? It all depends on this year.
And I think last year
fell apart late.
I think the thing with the Browns is the Browns with Baker Mayfield, I'm hard on him, but I think he's proved he deserves a 5th year or contract. But is Kyler Murray going to take that step? And again, I think there's a lot of games I watched last year where I went Kyler. I kind of think that was on you, bro.
Yeah.
That was on you. And he disappeared sometimes. And I don't want to see a team with... I'm reading the free agency here. Kelvin Beachum, offensive tackle. Rodney Hudson, Okay, well, they re-signed Kevin Beachum, AJ Green, Marcus Golden on defense, JJ Watt, Tanner Vallejo, Robert Alford, and they re-signed both their punter and kicker back. So they brought back 8 players and they signed 3 more. Yep. And when you look at that, like this team's set up to kind of to be the one we've read so far today and talked about. Yep. That I think they're one of the first ones we're going to get to. That's going to knock on Tampa Bay's door on the NFC side.
Yes,
if he takes that step.
Yes, and that's the thing. They fell apart late.
Yes,
they were in a position to win the division, make the playoffs, and win that division, and they fell apart. And they finished 8-8. Now that's an upgrade for them.
Yeah, of course,
it was. But from where you were beginning of the season to where you ended up, it was a big disappointment.
Yeah.
I think they're like you said, a more consistent quarterback away from dominating this division. Mm-hmm. But they are old in key areas. Defense, they're getting old, and I mean they have the best safety, Budda Baker. And one of the best safeties in the league.
Probably
Budda
one of the
Baker.
best safeties in the league.
I do believe losing Patrick Peterson is going to hurt.
Yeah.
He was a leader. He was a good guy, a leader.
They would have had to pay him a lot, though. That's the thing.
And I mean, the thing is he only signed a 1-year deal in Minnesota.
1 year, $10 million, though.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money, though.
It's
for
a lot. It's a lot of money,
safety.
But at the same time, I think he's going to do well in Minnesota.
I do too.
I think he's going to solidify that defense in Minnesota. Yeah. But it's just going to be very interesting to see the progression that this team makes. And, like I said, J.J. Watt is not a superstar anymore. A.J. Green's not a superstar anymore.
But they're enough to disturb the other side.
Exactly. Yeah. And Chandler Jones is going to benefit from it. And I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to benefit from it.
Of course they will.
So I do believe that this is going to be the best division in football again. And it was last year.
Yep.
I don't think it was. I mean, it might have been close with. No, I'm thinking maybe with the AFC South, where you had Tennessee, but you also had Jacksonville and Houston, who were ass, and you had 2 11-win teams at the top. But I don't, or 11 and 10 win teams. Yeah. I think this is by far last year the best division in football, top to bottom, because the 49ers were the worst team and they had 7 wins.
Yeah.
That was the best team in the NFC East. Not to poop on the NFC
East
right. Like we do, but
they were bad.
It's just interesting.
And I said this. I was just saying to the guys, like, we all went 7-9, right? And Dallas had one less win than the first place team. But in general, we all were trash in any other division. No matter which way we look at it, none of us would even be. We'd all be 4th in another division. So we're all making the right direction. Nothing against DC. They're obviously the best of the division.
Yep.
But all 4 of us in the NFC East do not belong to be playing football last year. It was bad. Right. It wasn't clean. So next,
free agency.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
It hit hard on Monday.
Yeah, it did.
So what I did is I didn't write down player names. I wrote down winners, even but pointing up, even pointing down, and losers. Okay? There's 12 teams I didn't mention on this list. Okay? So those are the teams that are just, they're really not doing anything. Yeah. They didn't lose people, but they didn't gain people either. So I'll read you my winners.
Okay.
Washington, New England, the Jets, the Cardinals, Tampa Bay, and the Panthers. And the Panthers were either going to be in the even but pointing up or in the winners.
Yeah, I forgot about the Jets.
Losing Samuel was tough for me to put them up here, but the positions that they gained a lot of good players here. Washington, to me, with Fitzpatrick, you got an upgrade at quarterback.
Yep.
Yes, he's old. I understand that. Yes, there's sooner or later Fitzpatrick's going to fall apart, but he's a guy that has no chill with his arm. He'll throw it to you. And getting Samuel was huge. You have an offense that is very good if you had a quarterback to throw you the ball. You have a very good tight end that you fell into. Your running backs are very good. Very good together. So not one of them, I think, not McKissick, the other one. Who's the other one?
I know who you're talking about.
I can't remember his name.
Running back, Gibson.
Yeah. Gibson. I think Gibson's close to being the real deal.
Yeah.
But I think him and McKissick are that group that makes that really good.
Yeah.
You have McLaurin, who's top 5 wide receiver in the league, and I think he's only going to get better with Fitzpatrick because somebody's going to get him the ball.
Yeah.
And their defense, we've said it before. Yeah. I am so mad that we didn't re-sign Jackson III.
Yeah.
The cornerback.
Yep.
He fits that defense so well. And they lost Darby, but they gained a better cornerback.
Yep.
And I only think that defense is going to get better. They're a linebacker away from being probably a ridiculously dominant defense.
Yeah.
So I really think they are by far one of the winners. The Patriots, they sign. I mean, if it works. They signed with the 8 players you gained from the COVID. Well, 7 now because Patrick Chung retired. And then all the players that you signed in the offseason, you got better at every single position on your team.
I agree. I think they probably made one of the biggest splashes. And I want to say, I still think Cam Newton's a liability. I think they put a lot around him, but even when he didn't have a lot around him, he didn't just look average with bad talent last year around him. He looked bad, really bad. He had one passing touchdown all year.
Yes, but tell me who he threw the ball to.
I understand that, but we can't use an analogy because it didn't work when Dak was injured with any other team. What I'm saying is, Dalton looked good playing for the Cowboys because he had the three-headed monster. But what I'm saying is, even with the Patriots, they didn't have a lot of talent, but these were still NFL caliber wide receivers. The man didn't get it done.
We will see if they're NFL caliber wide receivers because we will see if they are on a team come the start of the season.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Okay. And Keel is big.
Yeah.
He hasn't panned out. I don't know anybody else. Now, they might lose James White. They might not re-sign him.
Yeah, I did see that.
And they lost a couple pieces on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Which, to me, is going to be interesting. It's going to hurt. But they've upgraded in every position.
Yeah.
Besides, say, quarterback and offensive line that they needed to. But they made a couple trades to get offensive linemen back that they lost.
Yeah, I think the moves they made are good to help Cam Newton. I'm just it's just a quarterback liability.
Yep.
He's going to be the difference maker when they take the field in the beginning of the season.
But right now, Cam's the guy. But
of course.
But do we? I still think there's more to come.
I do too.
And I think that Cam might not be the guy.
Well, I don't think Cam's the future there either.
No, not the future. I'm saying the starter this year.
Yes, possibility, yeah.
That's what I'm saying there. I picked Tampa Bay because they kept everybody.
Yeah.
And that to me is huge. They kept everybody. I mean, the only ones they haven't done a deal with yet, but they're talking to is Ndamukong Suh and Antonio Brown.
Yep.
Everybody else came back.
Them keeping Levante David was a big deal, too, because I was not expecting that.
And they signed Shaq Barrett to a 4-year deal.
4-year, $68 million.
So that's why, and Nate brought that up. He goes, you don't have to bring in new players to win free agency.
No.
And you're a Super Bowl team, and you brought back all your players. And it's not like they were old players. Like Gronk's not old. Gronk is the same age as Travis Kelce. But
what about the Antonio Brown situation?
He's talking. He's the only team that's talking to him is Tampa Bay.
I just wanted to make. I didn't know if he had re-signed. It doesn't say it on my list.
He's in talks for a 1-year deal again.
Okay.
And what it is he wants to play the whole year. He wasn't able to play the whole year because he was suspended for the first 6 games, I believe.
Probably.
And then now he has a whole offseason and he can play. And if he plays, he's still talented enough to.
He is.
But getting
he
Godwin
definitely save his career. Absolutely.
On the franchise tag. Doing those things, just Tampa Bay to me.
These were smart moves.
Yes. And they still have a little bit of money to play around with where you can sign an Ndamukong Suh and Antonio Brown. You can go out and get a James White, which they're talking to.
They didn't make crazy splashes, but what they did was they brought back exactly what they needed to run this back again.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So when I use the words who won free agency, I think they won by doing exactly the smartest thing to do. And that is bringing back the people that you won with, not going and buying a crazy 5-year, $100 million lineman. Right. You brought back key pieces and veteran pieces to do this again. Nobody they brought back or even signed was young, talented,
David and Shaq Barrett.
But they were already on the team.
Yeah.
They didn't go out and go after a top 5 CB in the league. Right. Like you guys with the Bengals signed Chidobe Awuzie. You didn't go out and go get something. They didn't do that because they had it. And I think that was really smart for them. Not your team. That makes sense for y'all. But for Tampa Bay, they did really good. They did everything they were supposed to, and keeping Godwin was really good. Yeah. That was a smart deal there.
Yeah. So out of any of the teams, like we didn't talk about the Panthers, the Jets did really well.
The Jets had a great. I thought.
And it's only getting better, to be honest with you.
Name the teams again.
So it was Washington, Patriots, Jets, Cardinals, Tampa, and the Panthers.
So to me, I think I really like what the Jets did. Yep. I think the Jets set themselves up really, really well for Sam Darnold if they're keeping him. And I think if they decide to trade Sam Darnold, they set themselves up with a number 2 pick to get a quarterback there as well. And they brought in key wide receivers. If I'm wrong, I'm not sure. I see it here. They brought in Corey Davis and Keelan Cole. Did they sign somebody else?
No, they were in talks with Samuel. But he signed with Washington.
I could have swore I saw they were talking to someone else, but if not, they marked.
The Giants are talking to Galladay.
Okay, that's what it was, and that's what I'm thinking of. So Marcus May got the franchise tag. Justin Hardy signed a contract. Carl Lawson, Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, and Josh Adams. Yep. I know he's not a crazy skilled running back, but he's still a good enough depth piece where they're in a position where if they keep Sam Darnold, you're in a position to take Penei Sewell at 2.
Yes.
Which, with these acquisitions, this could be a team that could win 5 or 6 games next year.
Yes.
If you don't take him, then you could obviously take a quarterback. So my point is with the Jets, I think they did
any one of the skill
positions like a wide receiver there. Yep. So to me, I think the Jets did well. I really like Washington's move, and that pains me to say. They made a really good move. I'm going to say I'm still out on a limb on the Fitzpatrick situation. Yes. I think it was the absolute best move to make because he's not their future. This is the one time Nate won't yell at me. This is a bridge situation. They're bridging them to the next situation, and I think he's good enough to get them where they were last year. Maybe a tad better, but he's not the guy that's going to take them over the edge. They're going to look for that guy, whoever that happens to be. But I think DC, the Jets, I think every team you named, I can't pick one did better than the others. Okay. All of them did great. I think the Patriots did really well by managing money well. I think they did a really good job, and they had a lot of money to spend.
And here's the thing, like Nate brought up a point to me the other day in a phone conversation. Pay attention to how these deals are structured. All these big deals. Okay,
he called me too.
Everybody was talking about how the Patriots signed all these people and how are they under the cap? Well, here it is. Okay, in 2-3 years, this TV money that's coming in is ridiculous. Yep. Okay, and if you look at every single contract that has been signed, that's a long-term contract. You can look at the Bengals. You can look at the Patriots. You can look at Washington.
Look at Dak's contract.
Dak's contract. Everything hits in 3 years. Mm-hmm. Everything. All the money that these players are owed is hit in
this
year
was the
3.
one thing,
and it's all because everybody knows in the NFL that the cap is going up and going up a huge amount.
Going
of money.
off what you said, I don't want to beat around a dead horse, and I try my best not to at times. But like the thing I mentioned with the Dak situation with Jerry Jones isn't a loser except when it comes to winning games. The problem is he's not a loser when it comes to money. This dude knows how to sling money. People like Dallas lost. In a way, Dallas never loses when they make deals because Jerry knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. When I saw the deal and I went, man, that's a lot of money. And then Nate broke it down. Nate called me and explained it. I said, that makes a lot of sense because we went to $189 million in caps this year. It was projected to be $200 in 2021, like this year. So if you're thinking it was 185 last year or whatever it was,
I think it was the same exact it was
so
this
189,
year.
189. So they projected 200 this year. So now what they're saying is skip 200. They're projecting 2 or 3 years to be in the 220s.
Yes.
So you're talking jumping $20 million,
almost $40 million,
which is crazy. Yes. This TV deal is going to be crazy. So Nate made a really good point in our group, and I know he comments on this a lot, is just watch the contract numbers. You just said it. I'm just repeating it. Yep. Watch these contract numbers because you're seeing these deals like, damn, these deals look expensive. But they're really not because they're all 3-year guarantees. Notice only one player of all of them, 2 of them I think now, has only signed 4-year plus. The 2 tackles, Dak was 4 years, but most players are 3 and under for that reason.
Yeah. So it's
very interesting.
It's going to be very interesting. So this is my list for even but pointing up. Okay. Green Bay, Minnesota, Houston, Kansas City, San Diego, and Cincinnati.
I agree with 3 of those teams more than any of the rest. So what were the last 4 again? What were the last 4 teams? Because that's where they were.
Okay, Chargers.
Yep, they're 1.
Kansas City.
Yep.
Texans.
Yep.
And the Bengals.
Yep, those are the 4 I would agree I think made the most moves of those teams.
Okay.
The moves I think best to propel them to the next position.
Okay.
I think the Bengals slam fire deals. I think the Chargers did well. I think adding Jared Cook. I know they lost Hunter Henry.
Yep.
Adding Jared Cook was big. 2 linemen was big. Houston, a lot of deals. Like, I was just looking at how many deals they made. Like, I know this is crazy, and some of these players, people are like, I don't know who these people are, okay? But if you think about it, Tyrod Taylor, Mark Ingram, Andre Roberts, tight end Pharaoh Brown, tight end Ryan Izzo, Marcus Cannon, Justin McCray, Justin Britt, Shaq Lawson, Derek Rivers, Malik Collins, Christian Kirksey, Terrence Mitchell, Vernon Hargraves, Terrence Brooks, a really good safety as well. So you name all these players, there's a lot of players.
Yes.
And they still haven't ever said no to trading
Right.
Watson. And now Watson, we don't have to get into it. There's some legal stuff going on right now, which is maybe why a lot of teams have held back from trading for him.
Yep.
But if you even just think about everybody I named there, which are a lot of decent buildable players. They're not one stud really there. Not really in my opinion. Shaq Lawson. If you take them, and let's say they managed to trade with Miami. Let's just hypothetically speaking, they made that trade. And Miami gave up 3 or 4 first-round picks. 2 this year, 1 next year, the year after, whatever it was, and gave them a Tua and possibly Xavier Howard or whatever they signed. Houston could be back on the board in a year or two.
Yeah.
So Houston is in a really good spot here, and that's why I want to pick them probably in the upward trend. None of these people really make a splash, but as bad as they were, all of these deals are really going to help them kind of propel themselves forwards, and I think they did a good job.
Yep. And the only reason why I say even for Green Bay, I think Aaron Jones was a huge sign.
I was not expecting him to come back. That surprised all of us.
Losing Lindsey hurts. Okay, and there was one other guy they lost that I wasn't happy with. I wasn't sure why they lost him.
Was it? I can't remember who it was.
You know, they were in the AJ Green thing. You know, but your team, I think breaking even, you got Aaron Jones, so you got that stud running back that you need. Yeah. You definitely need another weapon.
You got to have another weapon.
But I did Kansas City because everybody was talking about how the wheels are falling off because they let go of Fisher and Swartz.
Oh, jeez.
And then all of a sudden they signed Long, they signed Tooney, they signed another offensive lineman.
Yeah, I had it right here. They did.
It's one of those things where I feel they upgraded where they needed to.
So they signed Long, and then Tooney, and then they signed offensive tackle Mike Remmers.
Yep.
They brought back Taco Charlton, and then they signed Blake Bell, backup tight end from Dallas.
Okay.
And on top of all of those deals, they also have that offensive. I think he's a tackle who sat out last year from COVID.
He's
like
coming back.
I don't know his name, but I know he's like
a doctor up in Canada or something.
Really good player as well. Yep. And so people are like, man, they lost those players. But they lost an aging, injured guy who was on IR, and then they got rid of another dude that saved him like $8 million in cap space.
Right. So
I think Kansas City, these were smart deals. And I think bringing another backup tight end with someone like Blake Bell, who plays a lot like Kelsey does, I think this is really good. I think they made good moves.
Yep. I do want to touch on the Bengals.
Go ahead.
The only reason why I didn't put them in the winners category is because their first 3 guys they signed were all replacements for guys they lost.
Yes.
Okay, now you can say Hilton, the cornerback from from the Pittsburgh that they got, is arguably one of the best slot corners in the league.
Yep.
They got Abugier. Am I saying that right?
Chidobe Wougier.
Awuzie. All right. Yep. But they lost Jackson.
Yep.
They lost Lawson.
Yep.
And they are in negotiations with the other guy, their slot corner from last year, but he's in limbo.
Is it Tony Brown?
No, it's
because he resigned.
Mackenzie.
No, that's not right.
Somebody I can't remember the guy's name. They're in negotiate. He's a free agent. They didn't do anything on the offensive line. Now they have Reef, the guy, guard tackle from Minnesota, coming in today. They are in conversations with Andrews, Mark Andrews from the Patriots, the center. And you're in the market for Penei Sewell. Okay, and so right there, if you get Sewell, your offensive line gets better. If you get Reef, your offensive line is better. If you get Andrews, your offensive line is better. So there's still time for them to get that better. But the thing is the report is they put a deal on the table for Kenny Golladay for 1 year. Prove me deal. That is more money than what the Giants are offering him, and more money than what the Bears are offering him. Bears and Giants are offering him multi-year deals, and the Bengals are offering him a 1 year, come play for a really good young quarterback with 2 really good wide receivers already on our team. You're not going to be double teamed. Come and play for us. And he said he would love to play with somebody like Burrow. I don't know if he's. Yeah. I feel Galladay's playing the game though. Yeah. I think he's going. Oh yeah, I'll talk to you. You know, I'll say all this good stuff.
Any player, no matter the team, unless he was a diehard Bengals fan, wants solid years because he could get hurt next year with the Bengals and not get another deal.
And then they signed a defensive tackle today from the Browns,
Larry Ojanobi.
Yes, and
I like him.
They're killing me with these names though.
Ojanobi,
you know, but he's solid. He's a solid starter. Where Geno Atkins is getting old.
Yeah.
Might not even be on the team to start the season. But DJ Reader is a stud, young defensive tackle. You've got Hendrickson on the other side, and you got Sam Hubbard on the other side. You've got 3 decent young linebackers in the middle, and your secondary is good because you have 2 really good safeties, and you upgraded at corner. Except I do think that you broke even on one corner, and then you have really good corners. I think their defense is going to take a huge step up this year.
See, I want to go ahead from my perspective here and kind of spitball with you because I know you're a Bengals fan. I think by far, reading over this list, and this is just coming from me, I think Mike Hilton, the Larry Ojanobi, and Trey Hendrickson were clearly the best deals y'all made.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
Yes.
But this is the problem, is the offensive line thing is worrying me. Because they're like, well, we might be in a position for Penei Sewell. I don't care what y'all did on defense. You got to protect that quarterback. Mm-hmm. Now, they needed to improve defense, which they did. I like the Chidobe Awuzie sign. I'm not mad that we didn't re-sign him. He wanted over $10 million a year from Dallas. Ain't happening. No. He signed $9.25 with y'all. He's a really good player. I think he's good. I hope he does better than he did with us. Now, Nate was saying it could have been a lot to do with good safety help. Dallas didn't have good safety help.
Yep. And scheme, too.
And scheme, I understand. The scheme is very important, but we drafted him to play, and he played very well for a few years, but he was just an average corner at best for a lot of us.
Right.
Now, I think he can do well. Mike Hilton, I think he's a stud.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite corners, and I like the Larry Ojanobi signing. Trey Hendrickson's a monster. I think these are good signings. I just worry a little bit about the offensive line.
Yes.
If they can get one good guard in, or like
that's why I didn't put them as the winners.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Because your biggest weakness is still your biggest weakness.
But you filled a lot of important positions. They did a good job.
And that's why I said even pointing up. Now, the even pointing down. I put these guys in here because, well, one, the Browns have lost a lot.
Yep.
Okay, but they're deep enough to lose those players.
Yeah.
So this is strictly free agency wise.
Yeah.
The Steelers.
Okay.
You got Big Ben back. You're not getting Juju. You're not getting Connor. Unless nobody offers these guys deals and you can sign them to 1-year prove-me deals. Your defense has gotten worse. You lost Bud Dupree. You lost Hilton. You lost another cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of these things where I don't see what the Steelers are doing. I don't think the Steelers know what they're doing.
I think what they're trying to benefit off of is that they still think there's a chance to win their division versus who else is there.
I don't think there's a chance in hell that they win the division.
I don't think they're looking at the Bengals, no offense, as a team to worry about, and I think they should. I think the team should be watching you guys, and I think you'll see the Ravens start to trickle down.
Yeah, I think the Ravens trickle down. I think the Browns stay the same.
Yep.
Which isn't bad. That's a 10-win team.
I think this team's going to meet in the middle, somewhere around the winner. It's probably going to be 11-5, 10-6. I don't think they're going to see a 13-3 team out of this division.
No,
they're all going to come squished in the middle, right above the middle. I think every single one of those teams could have 8 wins this year.
The Raiders.
Yeah,
I don't know what the Raiders are. Raiders had one of the best offensive lines in football, and they traded them all away almost.
And they have a really good running back and signed another really good running back.
Yes.
But you have no O-line to run through. You have no wide receivers. Yep. You have 2 quarterbacks. No one knows who's starting, and you can't name one player on their defense.
Right. And the Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons broke even.
Yeah.
But they lost the safety, Neal.
Yeah.
He hasn't signed yet, but they're going to lose him.
Yeah.
And
he's going to sign in the next few days, from what I'm reading.
Okay.
And he's probably going to sign somewhere where he has familiarity, is what I was reading from. I don't know if it was his agent or a friend of his. Somebody said he wants to sign with his familiarity, which as a Dallas fan, that's intriguing, being who our defensive coordinator is. That would be huge for us. But again, it's who wants to pay for him. He's a really good safety.
And like I said when we talked about the NFC South, I don't know what direction they're going in.
No.
You have a new head coach, but you haven't gotten rid of any of your veterans that haven't taken you. They took you to the promised land, and they fell apart, and they haven't been the same since.
Not since that Super Bowl, no.
So it's one of those things where I don't. I mean, you could put, and no offense to you, but you could put Dallas in there because Dallas got their main player that they needed, Dak.
Yeah.
But they haven't been able, and they restructured some contracts.
Yeah.
But I don't see, like, they haven't signed anybody.
So
So
they signed Dak. They signed a tackle, Ty Netschke.
Okay.
I guess he's been in the league for a while. He's kind of older. They signed defensive end Carlos Watkins from Houston.
Okay.
Then they signed, we signed a cornerback, C.J. Goodwin. He was on our team. He's from the practice squad last year, did really well when somebody was injured. And then we brought back Jordan Lewis, our corner, instead of paying Awuzie because we like Jordan Lewis better. And then other than that, that's it. So I would agree with you. I'm not saying this because I'm a Dallas fan. We're borderline there. I think we brought back we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We needed corners. We brought back 2 okay guys. We need another lineman. We did that. We signed somebody else. This is not updated. There's somebody else other than Watkins. There's another tackle we just signed today, and I can't think of who it is. I'll find it.
All right.
But it's another guy, another depth guy. Like our 2 starting defensive tackles are both 23 years old, and they're both 4th-round dudes. Then you bring in 2 30-year-old dudes. Like, I get they're trying to build some sort of depth, but with them re-signing Jordan Lewis, bringing in a couple defensive tackles, my guess is you're going safety with your first pick. You're going Patrick Surtain or Farley with corner. You're getting a defensive guy, secondary, which I would love to see that. But I'd also like to see with our $14 million we have to spend, go after Neal and then sign Surtain.
Okay.
Draft Surtain. Like there's got to be somebody, and I know who our defense coordinators. I know you don't like the idea, but if it's Sherman or just an Earl Thomas, suggest the idea. Think about it.
Sherman to me doesn't fit your defense because Sherman is he doesn't do well in what is it? He doesn't do well in zone.
Yeah, but the defense we're playing,
he does decent in man to man, but he can't keep up with
that's the thing.
The wide receivers anymore. So you need a great defensive line to
help that out,
to handicap that where Sherman can teach. I will argue with you all the time. Earl Thomas should not be in the league.
I understand
I will argue that
cancer.
with anybody. Yes,
he's a cancer, but we can't deny the talent. He's Antonio Brown. He's a cancer, and
he's worse than Antonio.
But
Brown.
Antonio Brown did end up getting the help. But I'm saying if he's in the, I have this gut feeling that if he's in the right situation, he could be better. But again, I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But the defensive coordinator that we have now, who was the defense coordinator for Legion of Boom, that should intrigue somebody. These couple older guys. What's the middle linebacker for Seattle?
Bobby Wagner.
There's another one. Is it KJ something? KJ Wright, maybe?
Maybe.
There's another linebacker. He's a free agent. Another link to Dallas. Like, a couple of these older guys, veterans, yes. But that doesn't mean we're good.
There, though, like linebacker,
yeah.
I'm not worried about linebacker.
I'm not either.
Health in your linebackers, I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Not the talent.
Yeah.
I think Smith is easily one of the best linebackers in the league.
And I think
he didn't play in the right scheme, and they asked him to do too much, and he lost his momentum.
And
during
Vander
the season.
Esch can be a top 10 linebacker in the league, but he was hurt all of last year, and he's been hurt his rookie year too. So it's like I like the moves they're making, but it tells me I don't think they're done. And there's a lot of couple safeties still out there, couple corners. I think you'll see deals as the night goes on, but I would not disagree if you put them in the trending down at all. Yeah. They need to bring they need to bring somebody else in. And
again, Dak puts them at the level where they're even.
Yes.
And I will say that because that's the position you needed the most.
Because now our offense is going to, in a way, continuously, everyone will be back and healthy again. Our offense will be back to probably being a top 5 offense again. Yeah. But something's got to change in that defense. And I'm really hoping Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been the coach.
It could have been a scheme.
And you could have catch lightning in a bottle.
The year before, the coach we had last year, the year before we were the 20th ranked defense and we went to 27th. So not a big difference, but we were okay enough to stop people. Right. Last year was ridiculous.
Yes.
No defense should be that bad. So I'm not hoping we're Legion of Dallas. That's not what I'm saying. But bringing in someone like Dan Quinn, who is a defensive master, hoping that he can say, I like what you have. Let me bring my scheme in and maybe it'll work.
You need a top 15 defense to be Super Bowl
absolutely
contenders.
But I think for me, and I'm going to be honest, I think Super Bowl aspirations this year is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. So I'd rather just
we'll get into it more. Yeah. But good defenses
Yeah.
won't shut your offense down, but they will make it so you don't score 30 points.
But that way we can actually use Dak Prescott to have 230 yards a game and have Zeke have 100 again. We don't have to throw.
Right.
Because people are like, man, look at all the yards Dak has. And I like to make fun of it. It was great, but that's not how you win.
Right.
We need to get back to running the ball with Zeke and Pollard, 20 times with Zeke, 15 with Pollard, and be that team we were, where teams were afraid to play us.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Who else did you have on the losers board?
The losers board.
Okay.
So this is my losers board.
Okay, so that was next.
Eagles, Saints, Lions. I have the Steelers twice. Steelers and Seattle.
I think the biggest loser by far. Say those again.
Eagles, Saints,
It's the
Lions.
Saints.
I think it's a toss up between the Eagles and the Saints. The
Eagles
Lions,
are full rebuild.
The Lions have signed a few players to make it so they're okay, but they've lost a lot of key players. I think that trade for Goff is awful.
Yeah. What? Sorry. Go ahead. You can finish what you're saying.
Yeah, and then we just talked about Seattle.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about what they did. The Eagles and the Saints, to me, like, I don't know how the Saints can go into this season thinking they have potential to make the playoffs. You don't. Like, you have probably top 3 running back in the league, and you probably have a top 3 wide receiver in the league.
Yep.
You don't have a quarterback. I mean, if you start Winston, you have potential.
Do you have it listed down what they paid that running back kid, the wide receiver kid, quarterback kid, whatever
Taysom
what
Hill,
are they paying?
He's close to $14 million a year. And Jameis just signed a
$4.5 million.
Yeah.
Who's their quarterback?
I don't know, but they don't have a tight end.
No, they don't.
They cut their tight end, and then Jared Cook Hill and Jared Cook just signed with some other teams.
Jared Cook is in Chargers.
Chargers, yeah, and I don't know where Hill signed, but he's not there.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders just signed in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So you're looking at these. What do they have? And defensively, they lost Hendrickson.
Yep.
You know, they still have Cam Jordan.
Yep.
Which is really good. They lost Janoris Jenkins. They lost. I mean, the levee broke.
The only really person they signed that was any good was probably James Hurst, the lineman.
Yeah,
that's about yeah.
But like
the levee's broken,
and I don't
that sounds
understand
bad.
it. Like, but I don't understand where they're going.
Yeah,
like they had no plan for when Drew Brees retired. And they were so far over the cap. Last year was the year. And they knew they were going to lose players. They knew it. But last year was the year. That they put all their chips in for last year, and Drew Brees and that team could not stay healthy enough or get it done. And they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because Carolina's getting better.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're arguably still going all in for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And so you can arguably say they're a quarterback away from being relevant.
I think they should start Will Greer, but that's just me. I'm just kidding.
Atlanta, you don't know what Atlanta's doing.
Yeah,
we just talked about that. Saints, you don't know what they're doing. And Tampa Bay is going to be good for another 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
bastards.
Are you going to be rebuilding and hopefully in 2 years you're there? Or, like, are you going to gut it?
So, that's the exact situation that I think I would say the 2 worst teams that did this, I think, is the Saints and the Eagles, and it promotes me right into the Eagles situation. I think the Eagles figured out what they are. They're rebuilding. But here's the problem with the rebuild. When you rebuild, you're supposed to offload veteran talent and get picks for them. They have no picks. They have no money.
They have no money. They're going to get rid of Ertz.
They're going to get rid of Ertz, but what is Ertz worth? 4th-round pick? I guess that helps.
We'll go back to the deal that the Bengals put on the table for him when he wasn't allowed to seek a trade. Yeah. The Bengals just called. And what are you getting out of that? You're getting a 6th pick instead of a 7th pick, and you're getting a 4th rounder, but you're getting rid of $14 million, $18 million. Okay, that's not enough.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have anybody on that team that you can arguably say, give us a 1st-round pick for.
Not one person.
Maybe Slay. The cornerback, maybe. And so maybe I can't think of anybody on defense or offense that I would say, like an offensive lineman. Maybe Miles Sanders.
I wouldn't trade first for any running back named Miles Sanders. I like him, though. But you're saying first. But yeah, like, this is my problem with the Eagles. Like, if you want to rebuild, the purpose to a rebuild is like what the Jets and Jaguars do. Try to acquire a lot of capital, or what Miami did perfectly for years. Acquire a lot of capital, offload these guys. Yes, you get some sort of unconstitutional pick for Carson Wentz, whatever it's called. I get that. But the point is, like, you need more, and you need to start bringing in players. So it's like, you don't even know what your quarterback situation is. They're even talking about bringing in another quarterback. I'm like, but you just said this guy's your guy. Now he's not your guy.
Right, and it's not a destination I want to go to.
No, not at all. Because you don't want to have to play, if you're an offensive player, you damn sure don't want to play the defense for DC twice a year.
Right.
And if you go there, you don't want to play defense and have to play against Dallas's offense.
Right.
So the point is, you're playing the NFC East. You don't want to be in Philly. If you're going to the NFC East, you want to play in more likely DC than anywhere else.
Yeah, DC or Dallas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, Dallas is still a destination. New York is still a destination.
The Giants are still a destination.
Because it's New York.
Of course. It's the Mecca.
And Dallas it's Dallas.
Well, you don't have to pay income tax in Dallas.
But
another benefit.
It's Dallas.
And unfortunately,
there's a lot of kids growing up right now or that are in college or young players that love Dallas. They grew up rooting for the Star.
So that's where they want to be.
Exactly. So, Philly isn't, like, you're not... And the fans don't help. Because the fans are just, I mean, they're passionate, but they are unruly.
I thought Dallas fans were bad till I met Eagles fans.
And so
makes us look like saints.
There's a few teams on this list that I didn't name. There's 11. Well, I'm going to say I counted here, but I put the Steelers twice because I'm an idiot.
We know,
but the Giants to me could be on this list for the trending up.
Yeah.
And
where are they at? Let me see what they did.
It's there's some other teams that you look at, and it's because it's funny to me because Nate went on this big spiel about how because I said Tampa Bay didn't win free agency the other day, and he talked me into saying yes they did, and I was like okay, and he said because you don't have to sign new players in order to win free agency, and I was like okay, that makes sense. I'm like. Okay, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, hell yeah, he's right. And then he goes and he posts in our group chat the winners of free agency. Did you see that text?
I did.
Okay, and it lists Tampa Bay in the very middle, where he said the other day that they were winners. So I was confused.
Call him out on that.
They have like Washington, the Patriots, the Jets, the Jaguars, the Cardinals. Of course,
they put Washington at the top.
The Cardinals, but then they have Chicago winning free agency. And then Denver, the Rams, Vikings, the Dolphins, but then towards the bottom, you've got Dallas, Houston, Carolina, who I think Carolina and Houston won free agency.
I think they did a great job. Absolutely.
The Bills they say are dead even. They said the Raiders are dead even, and they said the Ravens are dead even.
Yeah.
The Ravens aren't dead even to me. No. The Ravens signed Zeitler. Lost Judon,
they lost like 3 defensive players.
Ngakwe.
And somebody else they lost too on defense.
And they lost and their best offensive lineman is hurt. And and so I'm just looking at it, I'm like, I don't understand what this thing says. But it says it's percent improvement in wins above replacement. So basically their offseason, how much are they improving over last season?
Yeah.
So, I say this, and so it's not just off free agency. So I could see why Tampa Bay would be even, because Tampa Bay is probably going to win the same amount of games or 1 or 2 more than last year. But I just look at Washington definitely won. And do you want to know what I read today on the Patriots?
What?
The Patriots re-signed Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah.
Okay. The Patriots got a 4th round. This year, they get a 4th round compensatory pick for the Dolphins signing Kyle Van Noy. So not only do they have a 4th round compensatory pick for losing Van Noy, they have Van Noy back on the team.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. That is the most Bill Belichick thing I've ever seen.
I'll tell you something. I had to do some research on compensatory picks the other day because I went on Instagram and saw that Dallas acquired 4 more draft picks this year. I went, well, hot damn, who did we trade? So we have Dallas now has 12 picks this year in the draft. They have 2 thirds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2-6. And I was like, well, if you want to rebuild, how did we get all these compensatory picks? I guess
it's because of the players you're losing.
The player we're losing. And I was like, holy, I didn't really understand how they worked. So I was like, it only sucks we only get 7 rounds. I was like, wait, we get 12 picks this year because of all the compensatory picks. And I was like, that's crazy to me. And probably get another one from Awuzie too. So it's like, it's just crazy how those things work. And somebody like what you were just talking about with the Patriots, like they're getting all of that and they're still getting the dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. I also wanted to mention the Giants real quick because we were just talking about them before we move on.
Yep.
I would say they kind of broke even because they did sign Kyle Rudolph, which I didn't understand the need for Kyle Rudolph. I know they have Evan Ingram, so it's just a good backup to have. Well, you could put him on both sides of the line.
Yeah, 2 tight ends is
ideal.
Like especially if you think about the coach.
Yeah,
he's an ex-Patriot coach, and the Patriots really did redefine the offense for the tight end. Yeah. So I look at that as something that is smart.
Yeah. They also they signed Ifedi. Oh, I'm not even going to try that. Also, we just got a message from one of our friends at Logan King to the what would that say? Oh, to Houston.
Desmond King.
Sorry,
it's from Logan.
From Logan. Sorry, man. But they brought back Leonard Williams. So that's a big return for the Giants. But you may not like this pick because he's with the Bengals. I like that they brought in John Ross. Because if John Ross is not a absolute stud wide receiver, I get sometimes he has trouble with his hands, but he reminds me a lot, and I'm being a homer here, but he reminds me a lot of Tavon Austin at times. If used properly, he is the fastest player in the NFL.
I want you to look it up. How many games has John Ross played?
Has he not played that many games? I've watched him play.
Yeah, look it up. I want you to look it up, so I'm going to talk for a few minutes.
Yeah.
I want you to look up John Ross, because comparing him to Tavon Austin, and Tavon Austin isn't a superstar in the NFL, but it's an absolute insult. I would compare him to White. What is it, Kevin White?
Yeah.
I would compare him to Kevin White more than I would compare him to Tavon Austin.
I'm not comparing him numbers. I'm comparing him speed-wise. I'm saying they're both speedster wide receivers.
That's fine, but his hamstrings can't handle his speed.
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay,
I was just saying, if used properly, and hopefully he doesn't get hurt like crazy, he's very fast, and that kind of wide receiver is sometimes very hard to find.
Yes.
He has good hands, but I was going to say, I didn't get to it yet. He can't stay on the field. That's why the Bengals didn't bring him back. I think he's got the talent there, but like you said, he runs like he's got weak legs. Yeah. But when he does run, it's like watching a cheetah trip over its own feet. That's essentially what it's like.
It's going to be, but that's why I like the Giants. To me, are an interesting team because, again, I'd probably say half of the NFL, good moves, but the quarterback position.
Yeah, a lot of them.
And every team, even if they didn't make moves in free agency, but the quarterback position.
And that's probably more than, I'd say probably 20, I'm going to say nicely 20 teams in a league. And of those, some of those 20 don't even have their quarterback yet. They're going to draft them. And we still don't know.
Right. But Jacksonville, to me, I didn't put Jacksonville on this list, but I think Jacksonville's one.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has signed some really good players.
Yep. I think Jacksonville and the Jets brought in the right players to attract whatever they do with picks 1 and 2.
Yes, and they got 2 picks in the first round.
Both teams, yeah.
And you're looking at it like, okay, they're young, but they can actually do it. And if Lawrence is what everybody says he is, the Jaguars are going to be close in that division because Tennessee's getting older. They're not old right now, but they're getting older, and their defense is suspect.
Yeah.
Indianapolis. Is this quarterback the quarterback? Yeah. Or are you still searching for the quarterback? Again,
I mean, there's a good chance with the defensive talent they have, the possibility of Meyer and how he could be, Urban Meyer, and the talent they brought in and then drafting Lawrence, there's a chance this team could possibly be in the wild card next year, if not winning the division.
And I forget where their second pick is. I'm going to look that up real quick.
I want to say they're in the mid-20s, I think.
Because I was wondering,
is it the Rams pick?
Can they get the...
Is it the Rams pick?
I'm not sure.
When they did the Ramsey stuff.
So
I can't remember who it is either.
Yeah, it's later.
It's later. It's like 26th or 7th, right?
Yep, it's 25. So 25. It is the Rams pick.
I was
going to say, so one of those studs isn't going to be there.
Yeah, but that can be a good position to take another wide receiver that drops. So there's another defensive player that drops.
Right.
This is going to be a very deep class.
Yes.
Especially at skill position and defensive linemen. this is deep.
Yeah.
I'd say safety, it drops off really quick.
Yep.
But defensive line to me, running back and wide receiver are deep. What's up?
42 days, 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 24 seconds until the NFL draft.
Okay.
I should forward this to Nate. He'd love it. But as you get, free agency's not done.
Nope.
There's going to be a lot of draft cap casualties coming out still. And I think you're going to, like Nate and I and you said last week, there's going to be a lot of one-year deals coming up very soon. And you're going to see these guys that have been waiting to sign that are going to be signing these one-year deals. Yep. And I would not be a bit surprised if some of these bad teams, like a couple bad teams that are very close to the playoffs next year, and you hope you can sign some of these one-year deal guys to get you over the top.
I'm the kind of person where I know I'm a fan, but even with my team, for example, that I think if they could spend $15 million and just get two more, a solid safety and a solid corner in free agency, that's the difference in making the playoffs or not. But we're sitting here not spending the $18 million we have sitting. Unless we're talking, Dallas is really good about keeping what they talk about very quietly. Yep. They're not in talks with. You don't hear that ever coming out of Dallas camp. So maybe they just boom Keanu Neal and someone, not Keanu Neal, the guy from Atlanta. Is that Neal? You know what I'm talking about. Yep. Neal and then Richard Sherman and then someone else, you're like, boom, there it is. That could happen. But like a lot of these teams, it's going to be very interesting because there's still a lot of free agents left. Yep. We've talked about the big ones, but as someone like me, you, and Nate, and hopefully most of our fans, we don't focus on just the top 5 players. This isn't Madden. We know a lot of players, and there's a lot of good depth players still sitting around waiting for a team, and I can't wait to see where they fall.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, no, I mean, we got March Madness this weekend.
Yeah, when people are hearing this, it'll be tomorrow.
You're 16 days away from first pitch. The NBA's coming down to the wire. Yep. So it's exciting time. Next week we'll talk more free agency. We'll probably talk some college basketball. But other than that, just everybody have a good week.
Yeah, have a safe weekend, guys.